This 17 News at Noon podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Noon.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for 17 News at Noon. I'm Nicole Gitske. We begin with breaking news. Interstate 5 at Grapevine Road is currently closed due to a brush fire. And according to CHP traffic alerts, it happened around 10:45 on northbound I-5. Now, officers say a hay truck lost its load and there was debris all in the northbound lanes. That trailer ended upside down. Now, we are working to get more information and we will update you as soon as it becomes available and also when those roadways are expected to reopen. Now to an early morning crash that kills a man and injures another. According to Bakersfield police, it happened around 3:50 a.m. at Olive Drive and Jewetta Avenue. Police say one of the drivers ran a red light, crashing into the other car.
Once officers arrived on scene, they located one of the vehicles was fully engulfed in flames, and unfortunately the occupant of that vehicle was deceased here at the scene.
The other driver, a man in his 40s, suffered minor injuries and was taken to the hospital. BPD has not said whether drugs or alcohol played a factor in the crash. If you have any information, call Bakersfield Police Department at 327-7111. And another crash kills one person and injures another after the driver led police on a pursuit. It happened around 2:20 this morning. According to California Highway Patrol, officers attempted to stop a white truck on Fairfax Road near Niles Street when the driver fled. The pursuit continued to Panama Drive just west of Mount Vernon Avenue when the truck went off the road and down an embankment. The truck flipped multiple times before coming to a stop. The driver, a male, was not wearing his seatbelt and was ejected from the truck. A female was also in the vehicle but was wearing her seatbelt. She suffered what officers are calling moderate injuries. The driver was pronounced dead at the scene. Panama Drive is still closed at this time, and CHP says expect Alfred Harrell Highway to be closed indefinitely today. And Bakersfield Police is investigating what led to a crash overnight that injures one person in downtown Bakersfield. Now here's a look at the aftermath. The crash happened just before 3:45 a.m. on 24th and H Streets. Police say one person suffered moderate injuries and was taken to the hospital. Now, police have not released at this time what led to that crash. Well, today is day 2 of jury deliberations in the murder trial of ex-Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. The country is watching as a decision could come as early as today. Jurors are meeting behind closed doors at an undisclosed location. The 12-person jury is made up of 6 people who are white, 4 who are black, and 2 who are multiracial. Jurors are deliberating 3 separate charges of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter in connection with the death of George Floyd on May 25th, 2020. Jurors will remain sequestered throughout their deliberations and until the verdicts are read in court. Now, 3 other fired officers who assisted in restraining Floyd are scheduled to be tried in August on charges of aiding and abetting murder and manslaughter. And here at home, as the country awaits a verdict in Derek Chauvin murder trial, law enforcement around the country are preparing for the worst, including right here in Bakersfield. Now, the Twin Cities are at the forefront of civil rights and social justice protests after the killing of Daunte Wright on April 11th in Minnesota. This killing happened the same time as the trial of Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. In anticipation of the verdict, BPD says they are committed to supporting peaceful protests.
Sure. Obviously, we're aware of what's going on in Minnesota and throughout the country. As I said earlier, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that people are allowed to peacefully protest. Obviously, what we're going to do in our response is going to be intel-led, so depending on information, and we're trying to seek information that if individuals have information of where protests are going to occur, we want to be aware because we want to provide people with a safe access to be able to do so. But we also want to be available ready because we know how emotional things can get and these things can spark very, very fast.
Over the weekend, a video surfaced online of BPD removing items from a memorial created following a peaceful protest that occurred Saturday for Daunte Wright and Adam Toledo. BPD says the items were removed after anti-police vandalism was found and cleaned up. And the jury is expected to continue deliberations today in Minneapolis. We will continue to follow those as the Derek Chauvin case continues.
Clínica Sierra Vista is now offering rapid COVID-19 testing and COVID-19 vaccinations. Call 833-278-4584 to make your appointment. But don't delay. Clínica Sierra Vista, putting patients first.
Now to our 17 follow-up file. It has now been 120 days since two young boys were reported missing from their home in California City. Nearly 4 months later, still no sign of 3-year-old Orson and 4-year-old Oren West. Bakersfield Police Department has not reported any new developments, but say they have not given up on the search. If you have any information about the missing boys that might be useful to investigators, you can remain anonymous and call the Secret Witness Hotline. That number is 322-4040. We've been following this story since the beginning. You can find all the latest updates to this story on our website, kget.com. And the McFarland Police Department is looking for a man last week that has not been seen for more than a week. 27-year-old Oscar Oliva was last seen April 11th around 7 p.m. in the 200 block of San Lucas Street. Oliva is described as being 5 feet 10 inches tall, 170 pounds, and was last seen in a black ball cap, black shirt, and white shoes. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to call the McFarland Police Department. That number is 792-2121. All right, switching gears, let's send things over to Kevin Charette. We are seeing another hot day, but how long can we expect that to stick around?
Well, at least for today, and then we start to see a cool down. And for all you baseball fans out there following the Dodgers, well, they're not in town, but they are in Seattle. So I thought we would talk about some baseball here at noon. And again, they are in Seattle. A nice game ahead because temperatures and conditions are going to be perfect for a game. It kicks off in about an hour at 1:10. They'll be right near 66 at the first pitch. And then as we progress throughout the game, by 4 o'clock, we're looking at a temperature of 70 in Seattle, a northwest wind at 8 miles per hour. So go Dodgers. Yesterday they had a hard time, but hopefully they'll come back today. Outside right now, you can see clear skies, and we've got a temperature of 80, a calm wind right now, but we may see a breeze pick up throughout the later half of the day, and you can see those upper 80s return, and then we're back into the upper 60s by 10 o'clock. Up in the Tehachapi area, you can see the camera is moving here. There is a breeze just out of the northwest at 18 miles per hour. We're at 72 degrees, though, and as we take a look at the hour by hour, those winds will continue, and we'll be looking at the 70s and then 50s right around 10. We are also talking about the chance of rain that could be headed our way. I'll talk about wind in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much for that, Kevin. Now to the latest on the coronavirus pandemic. Here at home, the virus is continuing to prove how deadly it can be. Public Health reported 9 deaths today. Now, all those deaths happened in March, indicating Public Health has caught up on that lag of reported deaths. Currently, 1,331 lives have been lost to COVID-19 here in Kern County since the beginning of the pandemic. Public Health also announced 134 new cases today. Coronavirus cases and hospitalizations are down to the lowest point in more than a year. Now, state data shows 28 people are in the hospital, 8 are in the ICU. Meantime, we are getting a better picture of who is being affected the most from the deadly virus. Public Health released new numbers regarding our death toll. As of today, those 65 and up continue to be the most affected age group, making up nearly 66% of coronavirus deaths. This group remains disproportionately affected, only making up less than 12% of Kern County residents. Those with comorbidities like hypertension and diabetes continue to see a correlation in deaths. Only 39 deaths out of over 1,300 deaths had no comorbidities. Now, the good news, though, there have been no deaths in children. From Public Health, the research it shows that men continue to be affected more than women in our county. Well, troubling news for Kern as federal health data shows our county is one of the most hesitant counties in the state when it comes to receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. The data comes from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It shows Kern's vaccine hesitancy is the 7th highest in the state. Now, the report says 1 in 5 people are showing doubts about the shot. 14% say they're hesitant, and 6% say they're definitely not getting the vaccine. And while Kern ranks as one of the most hesitant counties in the state, it also ranks as one of the best counties for vaccine access, especially in underserved communities. Kern ranks 7th for COVID vaccine access in the state, and it's the highest for Central and Southern California. Now, there is still some good news about how many people have received the vaccine. State data shows about 40% of people eligible have received at least one shot. A little more than a quarter of people are considered fully immune. That leaves more than 380,000 people eligible people in Kern County unvaccinated. That's about the size of Bakersfield's population without protection. Well, the mass vaccination site at Kern County's Fairgrounds is open this week for drive-through or walk-through shots. It's open this week from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. You can sign up on the state's website, myturn.ca.gov. Well, other than getting vaccinated, one of the easiest ways to slow the spread of COVID-19 is to get tested. And now you can do it from your own home. CVS Health announced yesterday that it would offer 3 over-the-counter tests at its drugstores as well as online. Meanwhile, Walmart and Walgreens have also announced that it will sell the COVID-19 antigen test, which delivers results in 15 minutes. It is important to note that these over-the-counter testing options are not covered by insurance, and they are not meant to diagnose acute infection. Well, this week's varsity football game between East High and Highland that was scheduled for Friday has been postponed due to COVID-19 safety protocols. That's according to the Kern High School District, which says the junior varsity game is still scheduled to take place at 5 p.m. Now, FFX returns Friday with 17th Sport Director Taylor Schaub. KGT will bring you complete coverage of other varsity games starting at 11 p.m. And don't miss an expanded edition of FFX on Sunday at 6 p.m.
GET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
In our 17 Business Watch, despite the easing of pandemic restrictions, Americans aren't rushing back to concerts, theaters, and sporting events just yet. Now, a new study shows only 16% of U.S. adults currently have a ticket to an upcoming live event. But the study from Bankrate finds younger adults, Gen Zs, and millennials are far more likely than those who are older to hold tickets. 38% of respondents said they would be more likely to attend a public ticketed event if the organizer required proof of a COVID-19 vaccine. And before you book your next vacation, listen up. The U.S. State Department is adding more countries to its do not travel list. Yesterday, officials said it's boosting its guidance to include 80% of countries worldwide due to the COVID-19 pandemic. There are currently 34 countries on the do not travel list. Some of those include Brazil, Argentina, and Haiti. Getting to 80% would mean an addition of nearly 130 countries. The State Department said in a statement that the change isn't because of current health situations in a given country, but rather, quote, reflects an adjustment in the State Department's travel advisory system, end quote. Well, you may have heard people talk about the new normal after the COVID-19 pandemic is over, but you won't have to wait long until the new normal of weather. Marco Lamano explains how changes from a leading federal agency will affect what a regular day means for you.
Record heat and record hurricane seasons raise this question: what does it mean to have an average year? The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, is answering that question. When you hear a meteorologist talk about average temperatures, as in, hey, we hit 79 for a high, but our average is 80, we're using a 30-year climate period, 1981 to 2010. And every 10 years this gets updated. That means that now, starting in May, the average period will be from 1991 to 2020. So we remove the 1980s, which weren't as warm as the 2010s, and our average temperature with this new data goes up with it. That doesn't apply to everyone. The Dakotas, Minnesota, and other states will be comparing their weather with a cooler average high. An average hurricane season, however, will be considered more active. This follows some extremely active seasons, including the record 30 named storms in 2020. So because your seasons have been more active, the average is considered more active. We're going from an average of 12 named storms officially to 14, an average 6 hurricanes to 7, and staying at an average of 3 major hurricanes. Some reasons NOAA gives for higher activity are warmer oceans due to climate change, better satellite technology to detect storms, and the Atlantic being in an active natural climate pattern that lasts every 20 to 40 years.
Welcome back. The Kern High School District is holding a virtual teacher information night later today to meet potential job candidates. You'll be able to learn about open positions and the application process, do interviews, and more. The district says they're looking to hire more than 200 teachers in all subject areas, including special education and career technical education. The first sessions will be held tonight from 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, with more sessions on April 27th. Well, good news for soon-to-be college graduates. Taft College will hold an in-person commencement ceremony. The college made the announcement this morning, saying they will hold the ceremony on June 3rd for those graduating in the 2020-2021 academic year. For those students looking to attend the event, they must RSVP by April 30th through their student account. But they will have a live stream for those unable to go. It's happening at Taft Union High School's Marion Martin Memorial Stadium. Taking a look ahead to this weekend, local law enforcement agencies will be accepting expired, unused, and unwanted prescription drugs as part of National Drug Take-Back Day. The Bakersfield Police Department said it's partnering with Kaiser Permanente for a drive-through event this Saturday. It's happening from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 3501 Stockdale Highway. Tablets, capsules, patches, and other solid forms of prescription drugs will be accepted. Liquids, syringes, and other sharps, as well as illegal drugs, will not be accepted. For a full list of other drug take-back events, visit our website, kget.com. Finally, here at noon, a tourist house was built upside down in Romania. The unique house, built in southwestern Romania, attracts a large number of visitors who can't wait to see it. Look at that. Now, the owner built both the interior and the exterior of the house upside down in great detail. The whole interior looks exactly like a normal one, except all the furniture and sanitary equipment are placed on the ceiling, including the floorboard. The house owner built it on a metallic structure in only 3 months, and the entire house weighs 5 tons. That is very, very unique. How cool is that? All right, that's it for us here at 17 News at noon. We have much more news ahead at 5, but stay with us. Studio 17 is next. We'll see ya.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at noon.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.